Yes, I did. We be live. Hi, everyone. Wait, I didn't actually. I'm gonna do that right now. I was so busy trying to download that the Paris to Ahmedi video that I was like, wow, we're going live. Yeah, we were both so focused on our work. Hi, shalom, everyone. Hi, sorry, we got cut off guard. Hi, everyone. Have you liked the stream? I see. Heavy Griddle here already liked the stream, and by the way, Heavy Griddle is so nice. I know every time as soon as the stream is over, she goes and leaves a comment so that the algorithm. She always has the funniest comments, like for the algorithm gods or Algo Akbar. That's a comment. She says Algo Akbar.
Guys, that's gonna be our new motto.
Yes, Algo Akbar.
That's freaking awesome.
For people who are new here,
I love it.
The only gods that we recognize here on Atheist Republic is the YouTube algorithm gods. We pray to them. We do sacrifices at their altar with likes and comments and praising YouTube and asking for forgiveness when we say naughty words.
Sometimes I pray to YouTube algorithm when I'm stuck in traffic.
Yeah. Yes. This has become such a habit that we outside of, even when we're not on YouTube, sometimes we're like, oh, the YouTube gods, please find my keys. Where are my keys? I think we're making them attributing too much power to them. Yeah. I'll go. By the way, guys, please like the stream. I'm going to be highlighting your comments. If you mention that you have liked the stream, I'm going to highlight them as well as if I see them, to encourage other people to like the stream as well. Today we have some really juicy topics that the YouTube gods may not appreciate, right? So, I mean, we're starting with cousin marriage and Islam, and a whole bunch of other discussions that could be considered racist. You know, we might seem like we're being racist by YouTube gods. So, I mean, I don't know how.
Don't say that. YouTube flags that word.
No, it doesn't. I mean, they're getting better. They're getting better, to be honest. You know, they're getting better at recognizing if we're being racist or not. So I think it's okay. Okay, but your likes will help. Your likes will help you. What kind of news are we covering today?
Well, before we get into that, we have a couple of holidays we need to celebrate. Okay, I hope everyone had a lovely Christmas. I hope everyone is continuing to enjoy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Yes.
And a belated Yalda Mubarak to everyone.
Yes. By the way, I was showing a Yalda celebration in Tehran, in Iran, and I forgot to explain. It's kind of like a winter solstice kind of thing, right?
Solstice.
Solstice. What did I say? Okay. Solstice. Yeah, solstice. Solstice. Sorry. But it's kind of it's the longest night of the year, and it's pre-Islamic. That's why a lot of people consider that to be anti-Islamic. Not everybody considers that, but because it's a celebration that has nothing to do with Shia tradition, Islamic tradition, it's considered a nationalist celebration. So just like Nowruz, how a lot of people consider to be an anti-Islamic celebration because this has nothing to do with Islam or anything like that. So Yalda celebrations in Iran is similar to that, right?
It's also celebrated outside of Iran.
Yes, of course, because it's ancient into that whole region, right? But Nowruz is celebrated outside of Iran. Nowruz is like a big deal in Tajikistan and other places. It's also it's supposed to be a big deal in Afghanistan as well, but the Taliban doesn't allow it. Okay, so but in the next stream, I'm probably going to show you how religious Islamist people in Iran are warming up to nationalist symbols because they fear the people, and they're using some of their own religious traditions to celebrate Cyrus the Great. And I'm talking about Islamist Arzashi people using their Maddahi. Maddahi is the kind of singing they do for Hussein, Ali, Fatima, right? they're using the same thing, but praising Cyrus the Great, which is a demonstration of their desperation because and how weak they are. They're trying to say like, hey, look, people, we're on your side. I'm going to show that on the next stream. So guys, make sure you tune in and you're subscribed and you're ready for that.
As if we need further evidence that Shiism is deviance. Okay.
Yeah, but also more evidence that I have been correct about everything I've been predicting. Everything we're seeing after the the fall of Assad, right? And October 7th is basically a validation of everything I have been telling you guys for the past 5 years about the things that are happening in Iran. Like the reaction to all of the things that are happening shows that we have been correct with our analysis regarding what's underneath, what's happening, all the drama that is happening underneath. Anyways, make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you hit the bell notification to see all that. By the way, I have to download. You sent me another clip to download, right? What is that?
Yes, in the private chat. Wakar saying, by the way, why did you guys do a stream on Saturday? Like you guys usually do it on Sunday. Because I gotta travel. I have a plane to catch for the holidays. Right. And Abu Bakr is saying, hi, I appreciate your integrity from the last stream. I don't usually get to watch you live. Thank you, Abu Bakr. I appreciate that. We've been catching a lot of heat, and I'm willing to take it.
There's a South Park episode on integrity, and every time I hear integrity, I kind of hear it in that integrity. You should go watch it.
I've actually never seen a full episode of South Park.
Oh, really? Okay.
Or The Simpsons.
Oh, wow.
Is there anything else we need to say before we get the show started?
Yes. What countries we're covering? What kind of new stories we're doing? Are they tragic, funny, wholesome, disgusting?
Mostly. Well, you know how I say juicy, or sometimes we might not necessarily like it, but like it we have a lot to unpack and dissect. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're covering the UK, Netherlands, Iran, the United States, and Iran again. And we're going to be talking about the cousin marriage debate in the UK. An Iranian that was recently sentenced to death for collaborating with Israel. And then I also wanted to talk about a cell of the Iranian influence network within the US that has come to my attention recently. Because I love to talk about, like literal Islamic Republic influence agents within the United States. And then, also some women being badass and defying the Islamic Republic. What's not to love?
Oh, yeah. I actually have some videos on that. Maybe I could show that as well. So it seems like it's all Islam related today, huh? Did I miss anything? Yeah, it's all Islam.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, we have a new member. Thank you, CJ, for being a member. And we have a super chat by Asian American. Let's do the super chats once we finish the first news. So, guys, we will read super chats between the news items, okay? Okay, let's get started. Clappable?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay. First news.
The UK's very uncomfortable cousin marriage debate. The UK's debate over first cousin marriage has reignited after Richard Holden, a former Conservative minister, proposed banning the practice through the Marriage Prohibited Degrees of Relationships bill, citing health risks and concerns over women's rights. Quote, it's about more than one marriage. It's about the values and foundations of our society and our democracy, Holden argued, emphasizing the higher risk of genetic disorders and the societal control that is often associated with such unions. Independent MP Iqbal Muhammad acknowledged the risks but opposed a legal ban, advocating instead for health education and genetic screening. quote, a much more positive approach would be to facilitate advanced genetic screening and run health education programs targeting those communities, Muhammad countered, highlighting cultural sensitivity. With Downing Street confirming no plans for legislative change, the issue remains a divisive topic in the UK. So here's the thing. How about we watch the statements from the minister that introduced the bill, and then we can watch the statements that were the rebuttal that had a big reaction. But for this video, Armin, it's kind of long, so how about we only watch like 2 to 4 minutes? I think that'll give us the gist.
You control it. You control the video. Okay.
Wait.
First, unmute it first.
It won't unmute.
Okay, let me.
It won't unmute.
First cousin marriage.
Okay.
No, stop. Wrong one.
However, the practice.
Richard Holden.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker. And I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to prohibit the marriage of first cousins and for connected purposes. Mr. Speaker, members across the House may wonder why first cousin marriage is not already illegal. In fact, many in this House and in the country may already believe that it is, and that is understandable. Because as early as the middle of the 5th century in England, the Church practiced the Roman doctrine on first cousin marriage, which was clarified by the first Archbishop of Canterbury in the early 8th century in a letter from Pope Gregory I. The letter cited Leviticus 18:6, in which he said, "Sacred law forbade a man to uncover his nakedness of that of his near kin." Throughout the centuries that followed, this canon law forbidding first cousin marriage remained the norm, and by the 11th century extended up till sixth cousins. This 1,000-year tradition on first cousin marriage being illegal was continued until 1540, when King Henry VIII broke with Rome and legalised marriage between first cousins so that he could marry Catherine Howard, his 5th wife and a cousin of his 2nd wife, Anne Boleyn. Sadly, both Catherine and Anne ended up facing a swift end at the block. However, the law pertaining to first cousin marriage has been more enduring, remaining unchanged ever since. Today, according to the Oxford Journal of Law and Religion, cousin marriage is practiced by around 10% of the world and is most prevalent in the Middle East, West Asia and North Africa. However, the practice varies enormously within countries, by regional culture too, reaching, and in its highest areas, it does reach over 8% in parts of rural Pakistan. In contrast, in China and Western countries, it is less than 1%. Patrick Nash, the visiting fellow at the Faculty of Theology and Religion at Oxford University, describes how a region's history of harsh conditions, such as resource-scarce rurality, proximity to conflict zones, and industrial poverty, play a major role in developing the cultures that practice first cousin marriage. He argues that cousin marriage was actually at one time biologically beneficial for the survival of mankind, when times were especially hard and inhospitable. However, this does not carry forward into modern living conditions in our post-industrial age, where genetic and degenerative diseases are one of the most severe threats to public health. Which brings us to the issue today. Certain diaspora communities have extremely high rates of first cousin marriage, with Irish travellers being 20 to 40%, and higher rates still among British Pakistani community. The worrying trend is that this rate has increased significantly from those of their grandparents' age group, i.e. today it's even higher than it was amongst that grandparents' age group. And although there have been some reports of this rate falling within the last decade as young people push back against the system, it remains an extraordinarily strong link. I've already started to touch on why first cousin marriage is problematic, but I'll expand further as there are 3 real issues at stake. They are health, freedom and our national values. The dangers of consanguineous relations have been appreciated throughout history. The consequences of extreme intergenerational cousin marriage within the Habsburg monarchy of Spain eventually led to the demise of the house itself and the War of Spanish Succession, and that is very well documented. By the 19th century, the British Medical Journal published many papers on ill health transmitted to children through first cousin marriage. Indeed, Charles Darwin himself publicly expressed concerns based on his own experience of marrying his own first cousin, with 3 of their 10 children sadly dying in childhood. Today, the health risks are explicable in granular scientific detail. According to Alison Shaw, Professor of Social Anthropology at Oxford University, the child of first cousins carries approximately double the risk of inheriting a serious disorder than child of unrelated people. Health consequences, including recessive disorders such as Tay-Sachs, cerebral palsy, cystic fibrosis, amongst others, which require lifelong treatment and can lead to premature death, increased susceptibility to cancer and infectious pathogens such as hepatitis, birth defects including facial clefts and cardiovascular conditions, increased risk of many illnesses including schizophrenia and Alzheimer's, and higher infant mortality. Moreover, whether parents come from multi-generations of cousin parents of their own, this risk is compounded and intensified with every subsequent generation. The science, Mr. Speaker, is clear. First cousin marriages should be banned on the basis of health risk alone. The second issue at stake is around freedom, particularly around freedom of women. In my work in the last Parliament to ban so-called virginity testing and hymenoplasty, I saw firsthand, with speaking to people, how reproductive mechanisms are used to coerce and control women and girls, where actions and freedoms are heavily controlled. Women and girls living under a clan mentality often know the scientific risks of first cousin marriage, but make considered social and cultural calculations. Strict honour codes, where expressions of individuality can be subject to social isolation, violence and even death in some cases, dominate thinking. Notions of dishonour can also significantly hinder a family's standing amongst clan institutions, risking the family's standing in the social hierarchy and materially affecting issues like shared access to clan wealth. It is vital that we ensure that freedom, hard fought for by women over centuries, are protected. Finally, I'd like to speak alongside women's rights is a broader societal impact. Joseph Henrich, Professor of Human Evolutionary Biology at Harvard University, has found that cousin marriage does not just affect individual rights, but also reshapes society. His research shows that cousin marriage declined in medieval Europe as individualism grew. The weakening of blind family ties led to the growth of individualism, but this nurtured in itself trust of outsiders and in turn helped develop a deeper civic responsibility beyond clan to that of country, allowing for people to break free from the chains of clan, class and caste in their societies. Anthropologist Sir Jack Goody attributes the Church's ban on cousin marriage as a driving force behind the breakdown of barriers in early English society between the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes and the Vikings, as they were enabled to marry outside of their clan. Sectarian affiliations were gradually dissolved and paved the way for a modern nation-state. Britain is not unique in having immigration in recent decades from some regions where first cousin marriage is prevalent. And have seen, therefore, a revival in this practice, a practice that we moved away from centuries ago. Norway has already banned the practice, and Sweden and Denmark are looking at doing much the same. Much like so-called virginity testing and hymenoplasty, it is clear that this practice is not really conducive to modern British society. As MPs, we are more than mere delegates, but rather legislators for the mother of all parliaments, our country. As MPs, we should be more than glorified social workers, seeking to help constituents through the bureaucracy and through the system. We have a role in changing things for the better too. Henry VIII changed the law on cousin marriage to suit his own personal interests and pursuits. We should act in the national interest. Of course, this is about finding a balance. I've outlined for health, for freedom, especially the freedom of women, and for the cohesion of our society. For me, these things tip the balance against those personal freedoms. While there will be details to work through, I hope that Right Honourable and Honourable Members give me the chance to take this bill forwards to a second reading, and the Government front bench will look at this perhaps as a vehicle for positive change in our country, because in the end it's about more than one marriage. It's about the values and foundations of our society and our democracy. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so that was actually my first time watching that. I was not expecting it to be that good. Like, everything he said was on point. Everything he said was on point. Like, one thing that I think actually isn't emphasized correctly, though, is saying that, oh, the risk of congenital disease among first cousins is double that of between people who are not related with each other, which is technically true. However, that statistic does not account for a culture of generations of cousin marriage. It doesn't account for like 4 or 5 generations of cousin marriage. That's just if there were cousins marrying each other and having children for the very first time. It's doubled. It's not considering what happens if this happens again and again and again and again. That risk is going to be greatly
increased. Drop of IQ that is like the drop of average IQ that is happening in Pakistan, for example. That's what you're saying.
Well, it's
Something
not
like that.
just that. It's many different kinds of congenital disease. It's many different kinds of congenital disease. And this is a huge problem because not only, like, someone had a comment here, Naveed, saying, if they're not hurting me or anyone else, doesn't it limit their liberties to stop this type of marriage? But the problem is, Naveed, is that it is hurting other people.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they're children. The risk of infant mortality is way higher. If you look at the rates of infant mortality within Pakistan itself, it's incredibly high. Now, maybe some of that could be attributed to the like material conditions of maybe like rural counties or whatever. But it also is strongly correlated with the disorders that these children are born with. And then one thing else that I want to talk a little bit more, probably after we show the next video, is that even if those children are not born with congenital disease themselves, there is a strong argument that it actually does hurt the rest of society. Well, because of the tribalism, basically. And we can, to the point that there are so many children that are being born with congenital inbreeding diseases in certain cities in the UK that they are hiring special, like, intensive care nurses who have experience dealing with children with these diseases and from this background. They literally have to go hire specially trained people to deal with this. A long time ago, in the early 2000s, the BBC did a documentary about cousin marriage in the British Pakistani community. I don't think this documentary could be made today. And I can't remember what it's called, but it goes into showing what the lives of these children are like, how the parents deny that these children who are extremely disabled, and these kids in this one family that they showed were suffering. They were suffering. This one boy who was basically nonverbal, he was probably 15 years old, and he would be wailing without speaking words, lying on the floor because his congenital disease, because his parents were cousins, is slowly rendering him blind. So he'd be in their backyard where he's not allowed to leave, just wailing and screaming because he's slowly going blind. And the documentary goes into all of the burden upon the British taxpayer. And this was back in 2006 or something. And how it's a very specific and unique thing. And it is having all these very ill effects on children. And also the effects upon the system. The NHS already has a lot of very serious problems. And when they were interviewing the parents of these children, they were like, oh, do you think this happened to your kids because you guys are cousins? And they're like, no. It's because the doctors gave them Western medicine and vaccines when they were a kid.
Huh?
Yeah. They blamed it all on Western medicine. Like, oh, the doctors
Oh.
purposefully did this to my kids. They were in complete denial that it had anything to do with the fact that they were so closely related.
Ungrateful fucks.
Yeah, it was very, very shocking. This documentary is available on YouTube. Like, if you guys want to see this yourself, you can go find this documentary. Literally just Google like BBC cousin marriage documentary. And so there's more I want to talk about, but how about we their doctor's RFK Jr. Yeah, exactly. How about we watch the comments that got all the backlash?
Let me unmute it for you.
With first
Go
cousin
ahead.
marriage. And I agree.
Wait, can you give the context? So this is the Muslim guy in the Muslim member of parliament in the UK who is in favor of allowing cousin marriage. Am I correct?
Basically he's putting up contentions around banning it.
Well, okay.
This is very quiet though. I don't know how to make this louder.
I have a way.
Okay.
I could play it on VLC and share my screen instead and boost the volume. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, I think that'd be better. And this is Armin, this is one of those MPs that is trying to maybe form a new party with Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, I know. I saw his. Yeah, exactly. Remember, I showed you the chart. This is one of those guys.
I think they literally call them the Gaza block.
Yes. Okay, so let me.
The absolute state that we're in. Whoops.
Hold on. Let me try this again. Entire screen, share audio, and this one, share. Okay. Let me know if I boost the volume, if you're gonna get better audio.
Health risks with first cousin marriage, and I agree. This is an issue. This is an issue that needs greater awareness on. Virginity testing, forced marriages, and the freedom of women must be. Forced marriage must be prevented, and the freedom of women must be protected at all times. However, the way to redress this is not to empower the state to ban adults from marrying each other, not least because I don't think it would be effective or enforceable. Instead, the matter needs to be approached as a health awareness issue and a cultural issue where women are being forced against their will to undergo marriage. In doing so, it is important to recognize for many people this is a highly sensitive issue, and in discussing it, we should try to step into the shoes of those who perhaps are not from the same culture as ours, to better understand why the practice continues to be so widespread. An estimated 35 to 50% of all sub-Saharan African populations either prefer or accept cousin marriages, and it is extremely common in the Middle East and in South Asia. The reason the practice is so common is that ordinary people see family intermarriage overall as something that is very positive, something that helps build family bonds and helps put families on a more secure financial foothold. However, as is well documented, it is not without health risks for the children of those relationships, some of whom will be born out of wedlock. Instead of stigmatizing those who are in cousin marriages or those inclined to be, a much more positive approach would be to facilitate advanced genetic test screening for prospective married couples, as is the case in all Arab countries in the Persian Gulf, and more generally to run health education programs targeting those communities where the practice is most common. I would therefore urge the House to vote against this motion and to find a more positive approach to addressing the issues that are caused by first cousin marriages, including the health risks and the consequences of modern conflicts and displacement of population around the world.
Wow.
So there's so many things about his argument that I want to pick apart. One is that it's like not going to be effective and it's not going to be enforceable. Well, you have to try first. Two, he says, oh no, well, I mean, if we do this, then there are just going to be children born out of wedlock. That's very possible because basically they won't be officially married, but they'll be, pragmatically married, married spiritually, but not on the books, not through a civil marriage. Well, I still think it would probably cut down the rate of that happening in general. Two, when he talks about like it's seen as very positive and we should stigmatize people, like if there are people who are already in a cousin marriage, like they're not going to have their marriage nullified. I doubt that would yeah, you're losing yourself here.
No, the comment is because they go like, oh, the effect of being displaced and stuff. So this comment is just, I lost it.
Yeah,
I have to diddle my cousin because of this. Yeah, okay, that was
yeah. And I don't know, this idea that there needs to be like health education. How about we ban it and do health education? How about we do both? Why is it zero sum? Why can we only do one or the other? Why not do both? Then the other thing is like, oh, well, instead we should just facilitate genetic testing. So what? Is this going to be another burden upon the taxpayer? Like hoping that more people do genetic testing before they get married? No. How about we take a step in the right direction and disallow it? And there will be people who try to get around it. And then there will be other things that need to be recompensed because of that. But people need to understand that part of the reason why it is important to ban certain, and there's a difference between banning and criminalizing, right? So there's a reason why it's important to ban and sometimes criminalize harmful cultural practices. And the reason why it is important is because not only is it for the protection of many individuals who would be victimized by these practices that infringe upon individual liberties, but it also is about sending a message. Like, why is it important to ban and criminalize female genital mutilation? It is not only because that is a very harmful practice that renders great harm, lifelong damage to the people who are victimized by that practice. It is important because it also sends a message. It is important to ban and sometimes additionally criminalize harmful cultural practices because it sends a message that that practice is intolerable within society. And the reason why sending that message and telegraphing that there will be potentially consequences for that behavior is because that will facilitate a cultural shift towards eradicating the practice. I hope people understand me. It is important to ban and sometimes criminalize these practices because it's facilitating a cultural shift that will lead people to eventually eradicate the practice. People will not eradicate the practice if it is tacitly allowed. Go ahead.
The problem is in the UK, they're making a parallel legal structure with their own Sharia courts. Beyond just making a parallel society, they're also separate. They're building a nation within a nation by establishing laws not recognized by the United Kingdoms, and make even if society. So what Susanna is suggesting is that the utility of making something illegal is not just to ban it legally, but to create a culture making something taboo. That is exactly why the Muslim community in the UK is creating their own Sharia course. they're calling it Sharia councils and stuff. So that the criminalization of the actual legal structure of the society would not have that impact. So, for example, let's say you don't have cousin marriage. Well, if I'm a Muslim, I see myself in the UK, I could see myself more part of the Ummah rather than a UK citizen. So even if the UK as a country doesn't recognize my marriage, well, the Sharia Council recognizes my marriage. This is not adultery anymore. I am married to my cousin because I have been married to my cousin in the Sharia court. So it would not work as a taboo. I would consider this a marriage. And even if the state bans cousin marriage, the state hasn't banned cousin sex. It has only banned cousin marriage. I mean, the state might consider this to be sex outside of marriage. I don't see it sex outside of marriage as a Muslim because I have been shared by Sharia law. I have been married with my cousin already. This is why the problem in the UK is so much more deep rooted. The fact that you have a parallel society that even if you try to make something taboo in society, well, they have their own society that will see things differently, even to the point that they're creating their own legal system. So this is like, you have to go. I mean, I think like it's kind of like having like a poisonous plant just spreading into your garden and destroying everything. And then I think some of these discussions, to me, it seems like they're just cutting some of the leaves and the roots is just like spreading underneath society. And these are just like cutting this leaf and that leaf. Do you know what I mean?
But yes, I do. But this is still a very important first step.
Right. Right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't like the idea that, we shouldn't ban it, but we should just do like health education or something.
I did not say we should not.
No, I'm not saying you should
ban this. Yeah. Of course we should ban this, but I'm saying that if we don't ban this, that means that we're not even ready to do the least of the work we do. I'm saying this is not enough. Of course we should ban this, but we should be doing so much more than just banning this. There is a nation that is being created within the nation. This is guys, this is a lot of people think this is hyperbole. I do not think this is. I will argue this. I will show you why this is an when I say this is an invasion from within, a lot of people think that this is far right narrative.
I don't like that
it's
term.
Exaggerating. What?
I don't like that term.
Susie doesn't like that term either, but I don't understand how. I would argue this. I don't understand how this is not an invasion from between, because to me, an invasion means carving out a nation, okay, either from outside or from within. And when you are creating a parallel legal system, what is a nation state? How do nation states declare themselves or establish themselves? Is the main way they do that is by establishing law, right? So if you are creating law different from the law of the nation state that you belong to, that is creating a nation within a nation. That is the very definition of an invasion. So that's why I have no hesitation in calling this an invasion, but maybe I'm wrong.
That's not the like. I'm not going to get into that right now because I don't think that's like the helpful
Marcus
conversation to have right now. But
okay,
there's a lot of reasons I don't like that term. What I do want to talk about though is I think that one, you said, oh, well, cousin sex isn't, maybe it's still allowed. I actually don't know. Like if they update this law, presumably, I don't know, maybe it would also ban sex between cousins as well. Because right now, like incest within a nuclear family is criminalized. It's a crime. So they could add that to the books. You know what I mean? It's not just that you can't marry your brother or you can't marry your dad. Like that's actually criminalized as well. I think it's one thing that I found very interesting when I was doing a deep dive on this was people were arguing that within British society and that there's an ongoing debate around integration, right? And it's oftentimes attributed to ethnicity or religion. And but there was this one person who, where did they write this? This was Matthew Syed in the Sunday Times. He made a very interesting point where he was saying that he thinks that this separation within society, this self-segregation, is more attributable to cousin marriage. And here's his argument. Cousin marriage, you see, is perhaps the ultimate mechanism of cultural separation. It is well understood by anthropologists who have studied kinship institutions around the world, from tribes and clans and lineages to biraderi. When a Tutsi marries a Tutsi, they ensure that they remain sequestered from outsiders, such as Hutus, and their children will sustain the family tradition. The same is true in Afghanistan, which has one of the highest rates of consanguineous marriage in the world, and clans have persisted for thousands of years. The problem is, though, that while kinship marriage binds people more closely within an ethnic group, it simultaneously strengthens divides between groups. This, in turn, permits the emergence of parallel values, animosities, and rivalries. And they once again highlight that professor, St. John Henrik of Harvard, has found that higher rates of cousin marriage in a nation, the higher the level of corruption, the higher the level of nepotism, the higher the level of poverty, and the lower the level of trust. This is, of course, the daily reality of sectarian societies from the Middle East to sub-Saharan Africa. But we have to be honest enough to admit that we are seeing pockets of the same problem here in the UK and indeed across Europe. Again, it's simplistic to say that this is a Pakistani problem or an Islamic one. All religions and then have fundamentalist and illiberal interpretations, but it is striking that they seem to mutate and spread faster in insular communities that are held together by inward marriage, perhaps because these have the tendencies to become ever more detached from the moral trajectory of the wider civilization. This is why, to get to grips with clannishness, I suggest we must target the marriage customs directly. I thought this was very, very interesting. And then he goes in to describe how this was a very important force when the Catholic Church banned this practice, about forcing people to marry across tribal lines, which ultimately dissolved sectarian affiliations. So I thought this was a very interesting perspective to look at this as a maintenance of tribal culture, and why it is important within the identity and body of a nation state to make a concerted effort to diminish and dissolve the influence of tribal culture. And I tend to agree. And to be clear, this issue, especially in the UK, is not exclusively relegated to British Pakistanis. It's also a problem in the Irish traveler community, which I actually didn't know about, but I was reading about yesterday. And this perspective of it was very interesting to me, because it made me think about how one of the issues we have with Islam is that the way in which certain tribal practices from the 7th century have been maintained unchallenged and held on a pedestal above other practices because they are religious, when it has solidified 7th century tribal practices into a creed. You know what I mean? Like versus other tribal practices have been allowed to be chipped away at and dissolved, because a lot of these, the more I learn about how tribal cultures like actually work, it's horrifying, to be honest. And
I mean,
go ahead.
Here's basically what's happening. Okay, this practice has been prevalent in all tribal cultures before in history. The problem with Islam is that it's a lot more sticky, and Muslims take their scripture and their practices way more seriously and way less willing to change to modern standard. I mean, eventually they will, but they are the most stubborn, right? And this is why Islam is such a virus. It's not like it was uniquely Islam. It's just that Islam, given that it treats its text as the verbatim, word by word of God, unchangeable, unalterable, perfect, and has managed to somehow convince many of it that this is the case. Like a lot of people from other religions just treat their religion more like a culture rather than a moral guide. But this religion is just so much, makes it so much more difficult for people to just change their mindset to modern stuff. Eventually they will, but it's just the stickiest one, the most the most successful in making its tribe abide by the rules that it had set, I don't know, 1300 years ago. That's the problem.
And the problem, one of the problems is that the liberal will always have with tribal culture is that it will always hold the group identity, the group interest over the harm and care for the individual. Everything is in service of the group identity. And all abuses and murders and harms in its name are justified for the sake of the honor of the group and the maintenance of the image of the group. And yeah, there's so many examples of this. But actually, Armin, before I react to the comments that Dee found in the article as well as in our live chat, could you explain for those who don't know what is the origin of cousin marriage in Islam? We actually haven't talked about that.
Well, I mean, Islam makes it very clear in the Quran who are the people you're not allowed to marry, right? And it tells you who are the people who are forbidden to you, and who are the people you're allowed to. I mean, I could bring the Quran verse. So, and the list does not include cousins. Like it tells you that you cannot marry your sister, you cannot marry your mother, you cannot marry your daughter. This is the same Quranic verse which is very famous for saying that you can't also marry married women, except the married women who you have captured in war as slaves, right? This is the very famous Quranic verse, right? Surah Al-Nisa. I could bring up the verse if you want. And because it doesn't, I mean, the Hadith goes into a lot more detail about this than the Quran. But given that the list is very long about the list of people who you are not allowed to marry, and given that it doesn't include cousins, that means cousins are allowed. Do you want me to bring the verse? Do you guys want to read the verse?
No, I meant like the story.
The story? That's the story. The Quran makes it very clear. What do you mean, what story? The Quran is just a verse in the Quran telling you who are the women who are forbidden to you. This is why people in Islam, they call their members of their family mahram, meaning the forbidden, right? So in Islam, for example, you call your sister the forbidden, which is very wholesome. Like my sister. Imagine as a Muslim man calling your sister, your mother, and your daughter the forbidden ones. What does that mean? The forbidden ones means the people who I cannot fuck. Imagine referring to your daughter, oh, my mahram. What is my mahram? It means, oh, my dear person who I cannot fuck. That is literally how Islam refers to women in your family, your daughter, your sister, and your mother. The forbidden ones.
I'm upset.
Which is
I'm upset.
I'm not kidding, guys. Like it's such a, like, even Iran, this is such a part of, like, it's such a deep part of the language right now that people don't even remember where this comes from. Like, oh, these are my mahrams. Like what does that mean? It means the forbidden ones. Like, why? Because people sometimes think, like, why are you calling your sister the forbidden one? Aren't your sister, your daughter, and your mother the only people that you could actually look at without a hijab? So they should be not the forbidden ones, because you could look at them without the hijab. Like, yes, you can look at them without the hijab, but they're called the forbidden ones because you cannot have sex with them. You cannot marry them. That's why they're called the forbidden ones. We're saying, brother, ew. Yes, this is
ew,
Islam.
Brother, ew. Ew, brother, ew. Oh
Yeah,
my god,
yeah.
that's
Heavy,
upsetting.
yeah. Heavy Gretel is saying it's like exclusively viewing women through the lens of sex. Yeah, exactly. She who I can boink, and she who I cannot boink. Exactly. That's and like, let's separate women. Exactly. You're right, Heavy Gretel. It categorizes women based on fuckability. That's how it looks at women.
It's their sole function, after all.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Oh
incredible.
my god. So let's go to the comments in the article, Armin, that Dee found for us.
Oh, okay. Let's go this one.
Someone is saying he's not conducive to the UK's interests and should be removed as an MP. I would be inclined to agree. I don't think that facilitating, congenital harm to thousands of infants is conducive. Because he's like, oh, well, it's not enforceable and it's not going to be effective. I would wager to guess that it would probably lower the rates. It might not end the rates at first, but I would guess that it would help lower them. Especially if you look at other efforts that the UK or other countries have done to eliminate or ban and criminalize other harmful cultural practices. They still happen, but it helped make things drop. It also helps give prosecutors and social workers the tools to help people in those situations. Were there more comments in the article?
Yes. Let's go down here.
This person is saying, unfortunately, there is only one culture that needs to be tended to. That's the great British culture. You have to integrate into our society or simply put, leave. You know, actually, this reminded me of something. And this is something that I've actually been told about from my friends in the UK that are Pakistani Britons. And they say one of the biggest problems with cousin marriage in the UK that wasn't talked about in this what we've talked about so far is that what some British Pakistanis do is they bring someone back from Pakistan with every generation. So they'll go find a cousin back home, back in Pakistan to marry. So this creates a phenomenon known as a first generation, every generation. So every generation will import a cousin to marry. So then they have a first generation immigrant in every generation. And the reason why this is so problematic is because this is a huge contributor to lack of integration, which makes sense. That would make complete sense. If you have a first generation immigrant in every single generation, it's going to be a lot more sticky of maintaining culture and values that is outside of the culture and values of Great Britain. And so I thought it was very interesting to hear from my friends who've like literally witnessed this in their own communities, being like, yes, there is a huge problem of first generation, every generation. That makes this whole situation a lot worse.
That's interesting.
And this person is saying, their religion comes before all else with these people. They should not be in positions of power or influence for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't understand how this is still an argument. Like one politician comes like, this is very harmful, we have to do something about it. And the other politician, the Muslim politician, comes and like, well, but have you considered that some people would be upset? Have you considered that some people are sensitive about this? Have you considered that some people say, nah, because my religion doesn't like this? How is this an argument? How is this a serious political point that, yeah, I see all your scientific points, but to counter that, we don't like that. And you have to take that seriously because we're going to cry about it. Like, this is our,
Armin,
we have deeply held belief.
It's a point because it has worked.
Right. I don't know.
It's really that simple.
Basically, crying loud gets you your way. Apparently, like we have shown Muslims that if you cry loud enough, I'm like, but my religion, my God, does not like this, and therefore I don't like this, and that's a serious political argument, and you should take it seriously. And I am using this argument because last time I did this, you listened to me, so I've learned that actually this works here in this country.
Dude,
So I'm
it's a
going to keep
nightmare.
doing it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
we need to understand that there are lots of different communities around the world that will not end intolerable practices unless they are pushed to.
I also like the part when he was saying, okay, but have you looked at what some other countries are doing, like Saudi Arabia, or like what? He's like, hey, let's not do this law. Let's follow the model of. And then I thought he's going to mention some European countries, some advanced countries. Are like, have you considered the UK following the practices of backwards Islamic countries? How about how about no? How about no? Like, what are you talking about? And like, oh yeah, like let's not do this. Let's look at what other Islamic countries have done. Like, can you make it any more obvious that you're trying to Islamize this country? Your argument is to copy Islamic countries as a role model. That was his point. That was genuinely his point. I was like, what is this guy on? Is he saying the quiet part out loud? Huh.
He talked about that it was necessary. So that basically there are a couple of countries in the Arab Gulf that have mandated genetic testing as part of a premarital screening process. To my knowledge, I don't know if this is specifically because of historically high rates of cousin marriage within Arab countries in the Gulf.
I think it's because they are Islamic, so they want to ban cousin marriage, but that would be too much of a clash with Islam, and so they would not dare come out and say, motherfuckers, we have to ban cousin marriage, because they're terrified of the consequences, because that would be an anti-Islamic position. So they're like, we will allow cousin marriage, but you have to do a just genetic test, and if you're not a match, you cannot marry. So technically we didn't ban cousin marriage. It's just that you failed the genetic test. So they're trying
also, what's the scheme here? Are all citizens going to have to do a premarital genetic testing? Is this going to be mandatory? Is this going to be voluntary? Is this going to be paid by the taxpayer? Because otherwise, you're going to have to force the entire population to start doing this as a mandate instead of doing something that's free and saying we're going to ban this type of marriage moving forward.
I think they are just trying to ban cousin marriage without saying that they're banning cousin marriage. I think that's what they're trying to do. And it's in the same way that they are allowing interest rates by calling it something else. They're like, oh, this is not an interest. It sounds like an interest. It quacks like an interest. It walks like an interest, but it's not interest. So because Islam doesn't allow you to have interest, so they just call it something else. So I think might be. I'm not sure. I have to look into it, but this might be what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I was looking into it. The countries that have mandatory genetic screening are as the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar. But I'm not even sure if you have a genetic. I don't even think it's necessarily that if you do this genetic screen and you have a genetic condition or hereditary disorder that you're not allowed to marry. I think it's for transparency between people. Like one of these, Qatar, it's compulsory to do a blood test for genetic and sexually transmitted diseases before marriage. I mean, like the STDs kind of make sense. I don't know. Like, okay, let's see that you have something. Are you not allowed to get married? It's not clear to me. Yeah, these programs aid to reduce the incidence of genetic disorders and provide couples with information to make informed decisions. So that doesn't even mean that they don't allow it. Okay, so let's go to the comments in our live chat. So Sedge just became a YouTube member. Thank you, Sedge. This is a good reminder that a great way to help support the channel and keep our work going is to become a YouTube member. And you can do that by hitting the join button down below. Or you can support us on PayPal. So Asian American, thank you for the super chat saying, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Harmon. Would Al-Khwazmi?
Are you talking about Kharazmi?
I don't know. Be the patron saint / Shen of algorithms. The pro cousin lover side should make Queen Elizabeth their icon. Okay, she just did it recently. I don't even think she's the most inbred from cousin marriages in terms of royals. You know, whoever is the most inbred because of royal inbreeding should be the patron saint. Gasian is saying, would cousin marriage be okay with gene-edited kids or surrogate eggs? I'm trying to account for my Ruist bias. To be honest, I don't think so because of all the issues that come from clan and tribal allegiance. That's my personal opinion. I think I already answered this. Yes, I did. Shuvo was saying, I wonder what is the thought process behind marrying your kids to their cousins? Is it simply convenience because you do not need to look for marriage proposals, which is common in the subcontinent? So there's a lot of reasons for this. Oftentimes it is a financial consideration to keep wealth within the family. And this was often why the royals would inbreed, is to keep wealth and property and power within the family, right? It's also for social ties. So to strengthen the family ties, tribalism, strengthen the connection of the tribe. It can even be an instance where you are trying to bring a cousin of greater distance closer into the patrilineal line to make the tribal tie stronger. And then it can also be just a cultural thing that is religiously excused or permitted. In Ruism, adoptive siblings and sworn siblings are forbidden to you for being the number of death. Customarily, it needs to be at least the fifth cousin. Oh, that's interesting. Like a very distant cousin. That would help offset some of the genetic issues. Carl Schler said, thank you for the super chat, Carl. Bint marriage is also the source for the existence of clan and tribal structures in the Middle East, and therefore low trust societies and weak institutions. Loved your stance on the Christmas market attack, by the way. Oh, thank you, Carl. Thank you. And yes, I agree with your first statement. And I also want to seek the truth is saying this practice is more prevalent in the UK than Pakistan because dumb people pay for it. Seek the truth and find it. You should seek the truth and find it because this is not true. This is not true. This is not true. It's just patently not true. In general, among the entire UK population, this is not true. And then within the communities or cities where this is a high prevalence, this is also not true. Like the most recent polls regarding this is that in terms of consanguineous relationships in cities like Bradford, it was a rate of 27%, where it used to be almost 40%. Versus in areas of Pakistan, it's over 63% for an entire region. You know, like it's so it's just not comparable. It's really not comparable. It's way worse in Pakistan. I think the highest rates of cousin marriage in the world is in Pakistan and Arab countries in the Gulf.
Isn't Pakistan number one by a huge margin compared to everyone else? Isn't like Pakistan the incest capital of the world?
That's my impression.
Yeah. Young atheist who's an atheist from Pakistan says Pakistan is on a different level.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me see. Some of our data on this is a bit outdated. Pakistan as a whole, not looking at different regions, I think is among the 65% to 70%. And some of the Arab Gulf countries, it looks like the highest is Iraq, around
UK has picked
50%.
the best country.
And the other
When
Arab
it comes
Gulf
to
countries
mass,
look like they're about 40 to 45%. But I don't know how up to date
You
that
know,
data is.
I know many different countries in Europe and North America are suffering from mass migration, but honestly, UK has picked the best country to F itself with mass migration. Like, I know they're all mass migration from all Middle Eastern and North African countries is a bad idea, but to pick Pakistan is like the motherload of bad ideas when it comes to, you just pick the best. You just pick UK. You just managed to go for the worst of the worst for mass migration. Great job.
Yeah, but the good news is, I mean, that based on recent data, the rates within these communities where it does happen in the UK is dropping. It is dropping, but you know what would help it drop faster? Banning it. This isn't like rocket science. Okay, so shall we move to the next news? Any other commentary?
Yes. No. I'm very excited for the last three news because they're Iran related. So I'm gonna see. Actually, I shouldn't be excited for some of them. Some of them I didn't know. Susie, I'm so impressed when you bring news from Iran that I haven't seen. That's really good. Thank you. All right, so clappable. This next one.
I mean, we don't like this, but we can clap because we're probably gonna roast some people.
Yeah, guys, when we're clapping, it doesn't mean we approve. It just means that our standards are nobody died, nobody was molested, nobody was tortured, stuff like that. Okay. I mean, technically, some people were attacked, but anyways, they were attacked earlier. This is not about that. Anyways, I have to justify my clapping every time. Next news.
Amsterdam attack on Israeli fans, not anti-Semitic, claims the prosecutor. Oh boy. The violent clashes targeting Israeli soccer fans in Amsterdam have sparked intense debate, with Dutch prosecutors controversially claiming the attacks were driven by anger over Israeli actions in Gaza rather than anti-Semitism. Evidence presented during trial included those inflammatory messages from a WhatsApp group, such as, quote, YouTube, these are not my statements. We are reporting on the statements of others. Such as, quote, we must make those Jews feel what they did to our brothers, in all caps, which many viewed as overtly anti-Semitic. However, prosecutors argued, quote, the violence was influenced by the situation in Gaza, not by anti-Semitism, asserting the attackers' motives stemmed from political outrage rather than religious or ethnic hatred. The cases centered on suspects like 22-year-old Sefa O, who was accused of having a leading role in the violence, with video evidence showing him punching and kicking Israeli fans. Despite his actions, Sefa O expressed regret, stating that he wanted to start a new life with his family. Prosecutors highlighted provocative behavior by the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, who were accused of burning a Palestinian flag and chanting anti-Arab slogans before the attack. The incident, which Amsterdam's mayor, Femke Halsema, described as unbearable and deeply damaging, has fueled tensions in the city, sparking debate over the role of political conflict in exacerbating community divisions. So, this was a story that I found out about because of our Atheist Republic community members. And so if you are in the Netherlands and you have more information about this, please let me know, because there isn't a ton available in English, really explaining people's reasoning behind this. So This obviously seemed absolutely insane to me. I don't know how you can read some of the statements that were in this group chat and be like, "Oh no, this wasn't anti-Semitic." I mean, there it's clear that tensions are high because of the Hamas-Israel war. Sure. But we all watched those videos when they're screaming at people about being Jewish. Like, they're not screaming at people about being Israeli. Am I being stupid? Like,
I mean, let's see if it works the other way around, okay? Because after October 7th, there were, the violence against Jews increased around the world, but violence against Muslims and Arabs increased as well. Violence against Jews increased by a much higher percentage, but we also had more attacks on Muslims and Arabs, right? So if somebody comes and calls that bigotry, what if me and Susanna came and said, like, no. The targeted attacks on Muslims in Europe is not bigotry. It's only the results of what's happening in Gaza and the Middle East. It's
yeah, that
because of
sounds
the October.
insane.
It was a reaction to the October 7th attack. We had some Muslims attacking Israel. They killed a whole bunch of people. So this is not anti-Muslim bigotry because it's just a reaction to October 7th. I mean, would
Yeah.
we not be called out as
Mhm.
insane people if we said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, Armin, what do you even do in this situation where you
mean, all
see
forms of
what
bigotry.
happened in Amsterdam and this is the response of the prosecutors?
I mean,
Politically, culturally, what do you do?
What I do is remind people that this is why we need Zionism. We're talking Amsterdam here. We're talking Western Europe. Remember, people told us that, okay, Jews were targeted one day, but right now the West is safe for Jews. The West is the friend of the Jews, so you don't even need Israel. Jews are not in danger in Europe. Jews are not in danger in North America. They have safe lives there. People are actively hunting down Jews and people in Amsterdam, not in the Middle East, not in Russia and previous Soviet states, okay? Not in these places. They are in, not just there, but we're talking about in European countries, people are arguing that actively seeking and targeting Jews, hunting them down and attacking them is not anti-Semitic. This is another case, another reminder that nowhere in the world is safe for Jews. This is why you need Zionism. This is why you need Israel. This is why we defend Israel. Okay, another reminder: Zionism validated, Zionism proved correct. Just remind people of that. And I also want to add that when people say, oh, this is not anti-Semitism because this is a reaction to the events, as if other forms of bigotry are just come out of the vacuum. All other bigotry is also a reaction to certain other events. It's an unjustifiable and irrational reaction, but it's always rooted in a justification as a reaction to something else that has happened. Just because there was an event that stirred it, that doesn't make it not bigotry. Show me other forms of bigotry that was just formed in a vacuum as a reaction to nothing. That's literally every form of bigotry. Yeah.
I remember when Russia invaded Ukraine, and in San Francisco, I lived in the Little Russia neighborhood, and like some Russian businesses were vandalized because of that Russia's actions. I mean, granted, let's be completely clear. Like when that happens, it doesn't happen on the level, and it's not sustained violence against this group the way that anti-Semitic violence is at this insane level, and it's sustained at this level. You know what I mean? It was like some people busted in a shop window like one time versus continual, very high rates in many different places. Yeah, yeah, your point is well taken. But I mean, I don't even know what you do with this culturally if this is how your leaders react to this type of behavior. I mean, it's not enough to be like, oh, Zionism proven.
Yeah,
Also,
that's
the
my
one
just
thing
my
I
first
don't
reaction.
like about that argument, which I
But
understand.
that's not my only reaction. That's my first thing. Like, I'm not saying that's enough. Obviously, that's not my point, that this is what we do. I'm just saying, me as a Zionist, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Okay.
Sure.
But what else do you suggest? Like, this is not.
Well, the one thing I
Obviously,
don't
I'm not
like
gonna be
about
like,
that
oh, let's
first
go
thing
home.
that
We just, yeah. Well, you don't like it. Why?
Well, because then some people would basically wash their hands of doing everything they can to protect the Jews within their nation. It gives them an out. You see what I mean? They're like, okay, well, Israel's there to protect you. Go to Israel. Instead of taking every step necessary to defend this minority group within their nation. That's actually a strong argument that people use.
I don't think the person that says, well, Jews, get out of here, you have a home already, we don't want you here, I don't think those type of people were waiting for me to say that we need Israel for Jews to be safe. Those people seem so anti-Jewish that they weren't waiting for a green light from me. I think we need to do
Fair
both.
enough.
I think we need to do both. We need to fight anti-Semitism wherever it happens, but at the same time remind people while this level of anti-Jewish hatred exists around the world, we need to defend. I mean, we always need to defend Israel because we defend every nation state, but we need to defend Israel more aggressively, given that Israel is the only nation state that is constantly being threatened with extinction, unlike any other nation state. So but this also shows that the Zionist project was correct to begin with, and given how much anti-Jewish hatred is excused by anti-Zionism, I think that's again, this actually helps fight anti-Jewish hatred in other places as well, because Zionism is the excuse that a lot of people use for anti-Jewish hatred. It's the mask that people wear. So if you are making arguments for Zionism, you're also removing the mask of the tool that is anti-Zionism for the purpose of anti-Jewish hatred.
And I think it's important for people to realize that the modern justification for anti-Semitism is Zionism, but that's only the contemporary excuse used to hate Jews. Historically, there's been many other forms and excuses to hate Jews. This is just the modern version, because in our modern world, contemporary world, one institution that we value is human rights. And so you demonize the Jews on the basis of accusing them of human rights abuses. Traditionally, it'd be other things like, oh, you guys deny the Messiah, you're Christ killers, basically a blight within Christian society that doesn't accept our ways, rides off the back of our civilization, other stuff like that. And then there's other conspiracies like Elders of Zion and banking and But I think one thing I learned that's very helpful is that basically anti-Zionism is just kind of a mirror image of whatever society hates at that time. So if we can predict like what society will hate in 2050, like we'll probably know what Jews will be accused of. That's basically how this works. Like it could be a different accusation, right? A different hatred, but it's just always a mirror image to what we find to be a blight and hatred in society. This is why they're accused of, being pornographers and child killers and all this crazy stuff. Also, YouTube, I would like to emphasize, I'm reflecting the attitudes of other people. These aren't, please, YouTube gods, I'm not saying this.
Pray to YouTube guys. These are not our views. We're describing other people's views. Save us from the curse of YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube has been. I think the prayers have worked. Who said prayer never works? We have been praying
You
to
did.
YouTube gods, and I was wrong. Apparently, there's a certain type of prayers that work. We used to get demonetized like within minutes after we start the show. Every time we started this tradition of praying to YouTube gods and explaining to the gods that these are not our views, these are the views of other people, we're not getting demonetized. So, guys, we as atheists have found an incident of prayer working, which is amazing.
One thing that's very confusing to me is I don't know how you can literally say with a bald face that this had nothing to do with anti-Semitism when one of the people in this group chat that was coordinating these attacks literally, excuse me.
Bless you.
Excuse
me.
me. Thank you.
Gods bless you.
Thank you. Literally had the name in the group chat of Abu Obaida, who's like the very famous Hamas spokesperson. So they literally have like the iconography of a Hamas spokesperson. And then meanwhile, there's messages that are like, oh, I'm so disappointed that hardly any Jews were beaten. Oh, let's go on a massive hunt for Jews in the city. Da, 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 da. They weren't like, oh, you know what? How about we go attack Arab Israelis? Oh, you know what? How about we go find if there are any Israeli Druze around here?
Right.
No.
Not only were those attacks anti-Semitic, I think you calling it not anti-Semitic is also anti-Semitic. I mean, you are also being anti-Semitic by saying that this is not, by saying that, oh, let's go find these Jews and hunt them down and beat the crap out of them. You calling that not anti-Semitic, you're also being anti-Semitic. Yeah.
It's insane. But I'm also confused because one thing I was reading about is that some of them are potentially in being individually sentenced, some of them are facing like some sort of anti-Semitism charge, which is very confusing. I was reading about this yesterday. I'm trying to find my source on this.
The only people I would agree if this was coming from, I would say like, okay, fine, you're allowed to make that point, is if you were the defense lawyer of the people who did these things. Okay.
Oh no, but this is the prosecutor. The prosecutor is now apparently doing the job of the defense.
What the hell? Okay.
It's
what?
The prosecutor. Why? The prosecutor. Running defense, carrying water for the defense.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What? Why? Okay. Because if it's a defense lawyer, if people are like, oh, that's like that, you shouldn't. I mean, the defense lawyer is supposed to defend.
That's their job.
They should try. It's their job. They're supposed to try anything and everything possible to defend their people. Okay.
Even when a defense lawyer feels like they're gaslighting you, that's their job.
Yeah. That's their job. Like, you just have to try everything possible. But this is not the defense lawyer. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's really weird. It's really weird. So people are saying that there's no terrorism involved. I'm trying to find what I was reading somewhere that this is what's confusing, is that some of them are facing, within each individual being sentenced, there's at least 6 to 7 of them. By the way, only 6 to 7 out of all the videos we saw of dozens of people running around engaging in this. What the hell's going on? Let's take a moment to acknowledge that. What? Only 7? Only 7? We saw the videos of how large these crowds were. You only got 7? Okay. See, okay, so who was saying this? Chief Public Prosecutor said from a legal standpoint, there was no terrorism involved. I would agree. But and then
What's his
continued
name? Yeah.
the chief public prosecutor. Well, the one making this statement was Rene de Beuclier. I don't know. The suspect will not
Guys,
face
when
terrorism
something
charges,
that-
but in some
Yeah, I just want to clarify, people. When you say something is not terrorism, it doesn't mean you're defending it. For something to be terrorism, it has to meet some. It could be horrible. It could be even more disgusting. It could even be worse than terrorism, but not terrorism, right? Some things are vile and disgusting, and horrible. Sometimes even worse than some acts of terror, but don't meet the legal definition of terrorism. Just so you know, on this channel, when we say, "Oh, this is not terrorism," it doesn't mean that it was good. It could be very bad. Like, so you could actually there are certain actions that you could kill 100,000 people, and it technically doesn't meet the definition of terrorism, but it's even worse than most acts of terror. So just understand that when we're saying this doesn't meet the definition, it's not that we are making excuses for it. But yeah, go on.
So basically, this prosecutor was saying the suspects will not face terrorism charges, but in some cases, anti-Semitism has been formally included in the accusations. That's so confusing. So they're like, oh, anti-Semitism was not a broad motivator, but then some of them are facing individual accusations of anti-Semitism. It's very inconsistent. This is why if you are Dutch and in the live chat and can provide more context, I'd find that very helpful, because we have very limited explanations in English, which is very frustrating.
Do we have comments that Dee has highlighted?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, this person is reacting to people posting the screenshots from the group that was organizing the attacks, and just basically like making fun of them and being like, "Oh, you believe this?" Da, 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 da.
Wait, what was in the leaked WhatsApp chat logs? Prove Islamist pro-Palestine supporters planned a pogrom against Jews in Amsterdam today. Tomorrow after the match at night part 2. Okay, and somebody say, ha 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 ha, you think anyone believes this? Okay. I mean, there's a watermelon there. I mean, maybe you should withhold judgment until there's evidence, but you don't know if it's why it could be true, it could not be true. Like, you have to wait. You cannot make a judgment like this. Why wouldn't somebody believe it? It might be true. Like, what the hell? You're just biased because of the watermelon in your profiling. Okay, what is this one?
This person was reacting. Scroll down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically excusing this.
Wow. Look at this. You know, this reasoning will come hunt you down. You know, say, damn, you should probably stop committing genocide. Seems to offend people. Okay, do you know how many anti-Muslim attacks could be justified using this line of reasoning? That is very dangerous way of thinking. Even if Israel was committing genocide, which is not, but even if it was, that line of reasoning would not. It's not just bad for Jews, it's also really bad for Muslims. No Muslim would be safe with this line of reasoning. Basically, collective punishment. This is collective punishment. And what is this?
Wait, scroll up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So this person is saying, odd, I was distinctly told the Jews brought it upon themselves. Jew hunt rioters plan Amsterdam pogrom in Telegram groups in advance. Okay, scroll down.
Oh yeah, so this guy is pointing at the hypocrisy. Telegram groups used to pre-plan attack in Israel. Yeah, because it must have been an anti-Jewish attack, because right after the attacks, a lot of people said that, oh, they brought them upon themselves. So how could this not be a targeting of Jews, where the justification was that they brought it upon themselves? But yeah, okay. So what this guy's saying?
They did. Quote, their fans were coached by Mossad operatives who arrived a week earlier to scout locations and plan an incident. The confrontation was scripted on both sides. What the?
What?
I haven't heard this theory before.
Your conspiracy theory is right. Your conspiracy, everyone's conspiracy. I believe in the conspiracy theory of both sides. How about that? I'm not tribalistic with whose conspiracy theory I'm going to believe in. They're all correct. Okay, sure. All right. Wow. This is good. I like that. That guy was not discriminating. All right. We have comments. What are you doing? You seem to be busy with
Oh
preparing.
no, I was
something.
getting my next story ready.
Well, what about the super chats and the comments that we start?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I think we already did this one. Yeah, so Kenny gifted 1 Atheist Republic membership, and he gifted 5 more Atheist Republic memberships. Thank you so much, Kenny. That's so kind.
Yeah.
Which once again gives me the excuse to tell people to please support Atheist Republic so that we can continue doing our work. You can do that by being a member or PayPal link in the description. I also, D is so sweet. Saying fantastic commentary. Thank you, D. This channel must grow. Don't forget to like this stream. Thank you, D, for doing our advertisements. PC is saying Jews are safest in Israel.
I'm glad that you said safest because, yeah, you're right. I agree with that.
And the liberal gave €6. Thank you, the liberal. Saying the judge, however, admitted it was an anti-Semitic attack while sentencing 6 attackers. This is why I'm confused. Well, I mean, I guess are you Dutch, the liberal? Are you providing more context? Because again, there was a lot that I was trying to look into in English media and I couldn't find a lot of details. If the judge was saying that this was anti-Semitic versus the prosecutors were not, I mean, that's a good thing. At least the judge sees reason. I mean, trust me, it's really not good when the people prosecuting you are not being intellectually honest here. But if the judge who's actually sentencing you is calling it what it is, okay, like it gives me some hope.
The judge is doing the job of the prosecutors for them. Like,
yeah.
What are you guys high? like, oh god, this is weird. Okay.
Like, why are they why are they paying lip service? Why are they paying lip service for this? Is it like, I mean, my brain just immediately goes like, is this just actual cowardice?
I don't know. They're like, I have a career that I have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's just go to the next story.
Next story. Clappable?
Yes. Well, actually, no. Okay. No. Sorry.
Okay, no.
That was an automatic response.
All right. Okay. Next news. Iranian sentenced to death for blasphemy and collaborating with Israel. Iranian authorities have sentenced 26-year-old Mohammed Amin Mahdavi Shayeshti to death for blasphemy and allegedly collaborating with Israel, a charge based on confessions reportedly obtained under torture and supported by scant evidence, including having an empty handgun magazine and a can of pepper spray. Shayeshte, initially held in Evin prison, was moved to Gazel Heshar prison's solitary confinement ahead of his imminent execution. Human rights groups, including Iran Human Rights, have condemned the case, with director Mahmoud Amiri Moghadam stating, quote, "The Islamic Republic is going through the biggest crises of its lifetime and is resorting to intimidation through the execution of defenseless prisoners." Shayeshte's hasty trial by the notorious death judge Salavati is emblematic of a broader crackdown as Iran escalates its use of the death penalty, with over 300 executions in the past 2 months and dozens of political prisoners at risk. Human rights advocates are urging international intervention to halt this alarming trend. So this is obviously of great note to us because, one, we really keep a close eye on people that are being persecuted and prosecuted for blasphemy in Iran, especially because this is a sentence that is punishable by death, as well as when people are accused of collaborating with Israel. Now, I found this, well, interesting isn't exactly the right term.
because there was a case I heard about recently, and I wasn't able to find any news articles about it, so we didn't actually end up covering it. But it was about a young teenage boy who was arrested in Iran, and I don't know what ended up happening to him because he was posting videos of him singing the Israeli national anthem. Like, Armin, can you imagine posting a video of you walking around your little suburb or town in Iran with your full face, just like singing like the Shema, like the Hatikva, like it's insane. So, but this is one of those situations where I would guess that he in no way actually did collaborate with Israel. This is a charge they throw against people all the time just to have an excuse to demonize them. There's no evidence, an excuse to execute them, etc. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, both could be true. We know two things, and we don't know which one this is. We know that the regime sometimes arrests people and just says that they are Zionist spies, and they're not, and they just need, as Navid Afkari once said, who was hanged himself, he said they're just looking for necks for their ropes. That was his saying. Like, they're not like, it's not there's no argument to be made to save you because it doesn't matter. They have a rope, they want to hang somebody, and they're just looking for necks. Right, so they would just put a label on anybody for whatever reason if they need to send a signal that we still, especially when the Islamic Republic is being humiliated by both the women in Iran, which is our last news today, so follow up, you'll see how they're being humiliated, and also humiliated by women in Iran, and also being humiliated by Israel. It constantly needs a reminder to the Iranian people that I still have teeth and I can bite. Watch yourself. So they go find some people to execute, just to remind people that even that if I cannot fight Israel, I can still fight you. That's one point. So this could be one of those cases. However, it's also true that Israel is finding it much easier than before to recruit people from Iran. Why? Because a lot of Iranian people have fallen in love with Israel. A lot of people in Iran consider Israel to be their only hope. And sometimes it's not even for money. There are many people in Iran who would pay to work for Israel. So when it comes to Israel going into Iran and finding people who would be agents, who would be spies, who will gather information, not even just among the people, there are many people within the regime itself that would be willing to be spies or agents for Israel. Like the demand. I used to joke a couple of years ago that, hey, Mossad, hire me. I'm ready to be hired. That was not a joke. I was being serious. But I have been saying this on this channel for like 10 years or something, right? Or like maybe like 7 years or something, right? But that has now turned in Iran. That is now a trend. People are like, yeah, I would do, like, Israel is our only hope. So I would do anything for Israel to come and help us against the Islamic Republic. So Israel has admitted that, yeah, it's just so easy. It's just like when it's hiring time from Iran when it comes to spies and agents and informants and stuff like that, right? And Israel has also publicly, this was used to be covert secret stuff, has come out and announced on their own social media that Iranians because they have a huge demand for people wanting to work for Israel from inside Iran, so they publicly gave them a website and with a video instructions on how to come register for Israel as an informant, and keep your trail hidden. So we have on Israeli social media, we have video instructions in Persian on to Iranians on what they need to do to send information to Israel while keeping their identity hidden. There are instructions and material for educational material for Iranians in that, right? So, I mean, this guy could be either one of those. It could be one of those other necks that the Islamic Republic is looking for hanging just to make a point. But it also could be it is not impossible for this guy to actually be collaborating with Israel, and good on him if he is, to be honest. Like, I would if the accusation is correct, well then thank you for your service, sir. Either way, he doesn't deserve, obviously, like we should be fighting for him. But yeah, I mean, I have 2 videos uploaded to show you. I mean, I've shown this already on my stream, but if you want to see, for people who haven't seen my stream, if you want to see how things are changing, because you guys already have seen people refusing to walk on Israeli flags in Iran, people chanting, shove the Palestinian flag up your ass in Iran in masses, in sports events. But I don't know if you've seen these 2. Susie, I think you've seen these 2. This was some Iranians who went and changed the name of the street to Netanyahu Street. So let me just play this really quickly.
خب دوستان اسم جدید این خیابونو
So the locals of this place, they went and changed the name of the street to Netanyahu.
گذاشتیم خیابان پاک کننده شرارت.
He said we changed the name of the street to the name of the cleanser of evil. So they're calling Netanyahu the cleanser of evil.
پیام مردم ایران به مردم اسرائیل.
They say this is the message of the Iranian people to the Israeli people.
صلح و آزادی برای همه.
Peace and freedom for everyone. And also this video, I know most of you have already seen this, but I really want to quickly show it to the people who haven't seen it for a while. This was in a high school in Iran. The officials are I used to do this as a kid in Iran. The school officials will come and say death to Israel, and the students are supposed to respond death to Israel, right? And they also have an Israeli flag to burn. However, let's see what happens. So the students respond. So the staff is saying death to Israel, and the students unanimously, at first it's not unanimous, but then eventually it gets unanimous. The students unanimously respond. Again, YouTube, we do not endorse this chant, but the students are responding death to Palestine. Guys, this is a high school in Iran. All the students unanimously respond to the staff, the school staff, death to Palestine. Look, watch this. So now he's saying death to America, death to America, and then the students respond again, death to Palestine. And they're laughing too about it. They're kind of confused. The staff is like, they don't know what to do. See, they're saying Marg Bar Palestine means death to Palestine. So yeah, he's gonna try one more time. Now it's unanimous. At first it was a mix. Now it's unanimous. Everybody is joining in this saying death to Palestine. Anyways, I just wanted to show you this, how things are changing, just so you get the point why this guy might actually be an Israeli collaborator. I don't know. Maybe not.
So what is the causing? What are they burning? To say right now, this is endangering his life. I mean, he's at imminent risk of execution.
I don't think the Islamic Republic is watching this stream to see what our opinion is to do
No, but I mean, like
yeah.
that sentiment in general.
But the thing is that the sentiment is everybody is aware of it, right? We don't know which one of these things are. This is reality, and everybody knows that. This guy, we know that we will not be able to know because the regime does not share its evidence. And even if it does, they usually made up. So it's an unknowable thing. This even if this guy was forget about being an Israeli collaborator, okay? Even if this guy was being accused of, I don't know, killing a child, right? But we suspect that he might be a political activist, but we don't know. We will still have to fight for him because this is a regime that cannot be trusted. Even if somebody is right to be accused of something, we do not trust this regime. It does not share evidence with us. It is not transparent. You do not get to defend yourself. We have to be fighting for every single one of these people, regardless. Like, we don't take this regime's accusation seriously, regardless of what they have done or who they are. That's the position that we should be having, right? I'm just saying that it's not going to make a difference for us because if this guy is actually, here's the thing, in Iran, it's not a taboo anymore for you to be collaborating with Israel. So when it comes to the people, it's not going to make this person's case worse for us to suggest that maybe he is collaborating with Israel. In fact, a lot of people are like, "Oh, is he? So you're telling me he's a hero?" Do you know what I mean? So if the regime has decided to kill this man, the regime has decided to kill this man. If you're worried about people not supporting this man by spreading this narrative that he could be collaborating with Israel, I'm not worried about that because that is not a taboo anymore in Iran. Do you understand what I'm saying? In fact, maybe people would be more if we say like, "Oh, this guy is it." So you're telling me this guy is a freedom fighter and he was using Israel as a way to free the Iranian people. I think like he would be like, this person's story is not very well known right now, even among Iranians, right? So, but if he was actually a spy of Israel, I think it would get more attention. So it might actually work in his favor. I don't know. Things are weird right now. I'm not worried about saying what I think is true. I think the truth is always the best policy. And it is, what I'm saying is true. We don't know. He might
Sure.
be. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So what's his name? Let's remember his name. Mohammed
Amin Mahdavi Shayeshte.
I should see the Persian writing to be able to read it better.
I think, wait, maybe I can find a tweet with his name in Persian. 1 second.
By the way, to be fair to Susanna's point, when they call you an Israeli collaborator, you could just simply say you would be considered a collaborator just by having an opinion in favor of Israel. Like, so that's their standard.
So this is the hashtag that people are using. Hashtag save Mahdavi Shayeshte.
Yes, Amir is saying it creates the, yeah, Amir is correct. He's saying it creates the opposite effect for the regime. In the same way, when they were showing, what's his name? God, I forgot his name. You know his name, the guy with the tattoo of the Shiro Khorshid on his arm.
Mohammed Reza. No, Majid Reza Rahnavard.
Majid Reza Rahnavard. You know, in the same way that the regime was trying to say, like, look, this guy is anti-Islamic, he deserves to die, and it backfired. It's getting to the point where the regime thinks that if they tell the public that this guy is pro-Israel, and people will be like, oh yeah, well, okay, fuck him, then like kill him. It's actually going to have the opposite. The regime does not understand. Like, the regime is so far away from understanding its people. So these accusations do not work. It will have the opposite effect. By the way, some people from the regime are waking up to what's happening, and I will show you that in my streams. Were there any comments by D that
Oops.
that deserved highlighting? Yeah.
Scroll down, please.
So this is just a heartbreak.
Yeah, people posting about it, Masil and Jad posting about it. And yeah, just this person is commenting. Like everyone knows what confession under torture means. Yeah. I've not heard of any substantive evidence actually being presented in this case. Or why he's accused of insulting Islamic sanctities. His blasphemy.
I mean, why that's such a bullshit, because insulting Islamic sanctities is like such a norm in Iran right now. Like if they wanted to, when they say that we arrested something for this, somebody for this, that means that's just a placeholder as an accusation. It doesn't mean anything, because if in Iran there's so many people who are being insulting to Islam on such a huge scale that if the regime genuinely wanted to go arrest people, it would have to turn half of Iran into a prison. Like they are incapable of going after that right now. Like it's impossible. So, insulting Islam. You mean like half of the country? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I mean. Okay, so we have some.
Next story is super interesting.
But we have some super chats and comments.
Yes. Oh, lovely. Enye just gave a bunch of Swedish krona just saying thank you. Well, thank you, Enye. Oh, when you were talking about Mossad putting out instructions on social media about how to become an informant, Happy Groddle was saying their gin division is particularly impressive.
Yeah, how do I get a job there?
Laugh. It's hard when you or I are saying like something very like a good point or something serious, and then someone in the live chat says something hysterical, and to not like lose it is so hard.
Yeah.
Rafa, thank you. Oh, and Rafa's a member. Thank you. Saying is a valid example of taqiyya when Islamic experts lie about how peaceful Islam is. Love last week's stream and admire your integrity. Well, thank you, Rafa. Armin, as someone who's more knowledgeable than myself, would you please take a crack at answer? Mufti Armin. Everyone use the Mufti Armin emoji.
So maybe, but you have to understand that it might not be, because many as Muslim scholars consider their understanding of peace. So you know how we liberals, we say that you bring peace through destroying the people who want to wage war against you. They have a version of that, right? They say like, well, peace means submitting to Islam. Being un-Islamic brings chaos, means not abiding by the gods of Allah. Like the world is better under Islamic law. The world is at peace under Islamic. So war, being non-Islamic, is by default a state of war, right? So they're technically, in their mind, they're not lying to you. If you wage war to bring somewhere to Islam, in their mind, Islam is still a religion of peace, because they declared war at you to begin with by not being Islamic, because they're waging war against Allah by not accepting Islam. So they were, a place that is not under Islam is already in the state of war.
It's literally called Dar al-Harb.
Yeah, exactly. So you are bringing peace to it by making it Islamic and submitting it to Islam. So technically they're not lying. They're just idiots. I mean, they're just Islamic, right? They just see peace differently than when we see peace. So that's a bit. An example of taqiyya is actual taqiyya is when Khomeini said, when he was in France, when journalists came and asked him what kind of government you want from Iran, he said, we want a democratic government from Iran in the same way that you have it here in France. That's an actual example of taqiyya, and he actually admitted that. So
oh no.
yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So there you go.
Takia! Takia. Carl was asking, what are they burning in that video?
Oh, yeah, that was the flag of Israel that they were burning. It wasn't very good. It wasn't printed very well, so it looked kind of white. But if you look deep, if you zoom in, you will see it was the flag of Israel.
Low quality. Low quality.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, there was another comment. Rafa asked another question. Do you support a military operation to remove the Islamic regime? And if you do support it, what are the chances Trump does it or allows Israel to do it? It depends on what kind of military operation.
Yes, I was up. Susanna just read my mind. Exactly. It depends on the type of military operation. Any type of military operation that is targeted towards Islamic regimes, military, and also what is it called? Riot control bases, IRGC sites specifically. I would support that. Okay. Anything that is, yeah, basically that would be anything that would basically allow the people to overcome the regime. Basically, that I would support that. But anything that could fundamentally destroy the economic structure, the infrastructure of the civilians, because in Iran it's not like Gaza. All right, Israel should be able to more than capable of targeting regime assets without destroying infrastructure of the people, right? It's not like Gaza where they are so intermingled that would not be possible. So yes, I would support that kind of military operation. It's not that just that I support it. I would be against not doing it because it would be irresponsible of Israel to allow the Islamic Republic to become nuclear and not stopping it militarily. It's beyond support. It's basically condemning Israel if it doesn't do such a thing, because it would be irresponsible of the government of Israel for allowing such level of potential harm to its own people. Okay,
well, it
so I
goes
go
far beyond
support.
Israel. This is a consequence to the entire region.
Yeah, but it's essential for Israel.
Sure.
The consequences are for the world, but the responsibility of Israel support, basically making sure that the Islamic Republic does not become a nuclear state, is so important. Like, it's responsible not to do anything else. When it comes to Trump, guys, Trump is 50-50, I think, on this. Okay, Trump is anti. I think if Israel wants to do it, Trump would allow it. But for Trump to do it itself, it's so 50-50 right now, because Trump is very anti-intervention, very anti-war, but at the same time Trump takes things very personally, and the Islamic Republic has planned to kill Trump, right? So, and Trump takes that very personally. And also Trump killed Qasem Soleimani, and that makes. But Trump is also really wants to do. Trump also does anything for a deal. So it is possible that Trump would do maximum pressure on the Islamic Republic not to go to war with it, but to eventually do a deal with it. So it's really 50-50. It's very unpredictable if Trump himself will want to go to war with Iran or not. So we'll see. This is something that you have to wait and see.
This is one of those situations where I remember when the news of Iran planning an assassination against Trump was revealed shortly after the domestic assassination attempts happened on him. My mom sent me an article and she's like, "Oh my gosh, did you see this? Can you believe this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm under a constant assumption that this is going on." Am I surprised? No, I'd be surprised if they didn't. Okay, so let's go to the next story.
Let me unhighlight this one and unstar it. Clappable?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my. This is okay. Next news.
Next news, Iran's secret ally, how a U.S. nonprofit echoes regime propaganda. So this is, I'm bringing some knowledge to you guys that you probably have not going to heard of before, which is about Iranian influence networks in the United States. Okay, this is a real deal. Okay. So the Muslim Students Association Persian speaking group, that's the name of this organization, or MSA PSG for short, a US-based nonprofit with long-standing accusations of ties to the Iranian regime, is hosting its annual conference in Herndon, Virginia from December 27th to December 30th. So that's happening right now. Operating under the theme Resistance and Islamic Duty, the event features promotional material depicting armed soldiers and symbols associated with Hamas, raising alarms about its alignment with extremist narratives. The MSA PSG, also known as the Anjuman Islami, has been monitored by the U.S. law enforcement since the 1980s, with the FBI investigating it numerous times and labeling it. The FBI has labeled it an extension of the present regime in Iran. In 1984, they had that label, and alleging that it was used for intelligence gathering, targeting dissidents, and spreading Iranian propaganda. Founders of the group, Mustafa Chamran and Ibrahim Yazdi, who were instrumental figures in the 1979 Iranian Revolution, established the group after breaking away from the Iranian Student Confederation. Despite accusations of receiving Iranian funding and even requiring loyalty pledges to the regime, the group operates as a 501c3 tax-exempt organization, a status revoked in 2013 but later reinstated. Critics argue that its continued activities, including conferences promoting pro-Islamic Republic and extremist messages, highlight the Islamic Republic's persistent efforts to maintain influence on U.S. soil under the guise of a nonprofit organization. So this is one of those examples where Susanna went and read a giant report about Islamism in the United States, and I want to talk to you guys about it. And this more recent news about their conference gave me the excuse to come dump a bunch of knowledge on you. So this is absolutely fascinating. I mean, we don't like it. Let me be clear. I think it's fascinating because I'm a nerd and I like to know about how these things operate. You know what I mean? So basically, for those who don't know, the Muslim Student Association, which is basically a campus activity club that has chapters across campuses across the entire United States. It's very similar to in the United States. It's very common to have a club on your university campus for the Black Student Union, or maybe fraternities, or Hillel for Jewish students, similar to this. So there's the umbrella body, which is the Muslim Student Association. So the Muslim Student Association was founded mostly by supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood in the 1960s. So when people are like, oh, MSA is Muslim Brotherhood, that's what they're talking about. And has flourished with hundreds of chapters currently operating across the US. However, so there was a split, and there was this other group that was for Iranian students on college campuses. Very common, you know? Like at my college, we had a group for Filipino students, and they would go do Filipino cultural activities together, organize dance. Oh, Amir is asking, it's still active? Oh, it's super active. It's totally active. And the whole Muslim Student Association has had a huge role in all the unrest and chaos on college campuses with Gaza encampments and stuff. Is everyone starting to see the pattern here?
Wow.
Is everyone starting to see the pattern here? We got the Muslim Student Association. We got Students for Justice in Palestine. We got American Muslims in Palestine. These people all have connections to the Muslim Brotherhood, their founders, some connections to Hamas, CARE, Holy Land Foundation. It's a whole thing. And this is why I want to come talk to you guys about this, because every now and then it gives me an excuse to give you a little bit more of a piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean? So basically, there was another group called the Iranian Student Confederation. And however, there were these two men, Mustafa Chamran and Ibrahim Yazdi, who split from the Iranian student group because they were they thought that the Iranian student group was having an inadequate reaction to the arrest of Khomeini by the Shah. So they split from the original Iranian group because they wanted to support Khomeini more. They wanted to be against the Shah. And so they created a subgroup of Muslim Student Association that was for the Persian-speaking group. So they split from the Iranian group. They went under the umbrella of the MSA to create the MSA Persian-speaking group, MSA PSG. So let's hear a little bit more about who these founders were. One of them was Ibrahim Yazdi, a prominent Iranian politician and diplomat who would end up playing a pivotal role in the 1979 Islamic Revolution, subsequently serving as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The idea of celebrating Quds Day was his idea. And these were people that were educated in the United States. Let's be clear. They pursued their education in the United States, and then they went on to participate in the Islamic Revolution. So the other founder, Mustafa Chamran, was a Berkeley-educated engineer, military commander, and influential politician during the revolution, notable for his leadership in establishing the IRGC.
What the hell? How did these people get to do these things in the US then? With these
because
backgrounds?
they started this before they left to go participate in the Islamic Revolution.
I mean, what the hell? This is too connected to be able to allow to do. Like, isn't this illegal?
Well, they started it and then it continued on without them.
How is it allowed to continue without them? Okay, bro.
Well, I mean, that's a
How
good
is this
question because I
legal?
mean the FBI the FBI is focusing on them, so I don't know the answer to that. What's also crazy is that the second founder guy, Chamran, served as the Minister of National Defense of Iran and the Deputy Prime Minister of Revolutionary Affairs. Before that, during the 7 years that he lived in Lebanon, Chamran also played an important role in founding Amal. Amal is a Lebanese Shiite political party and militia that was established during the Lebanese Civil War. And so according to MSA PSG's own account, the initial goal of this organization was to support justice movements in Palestine and bringing awareness about dictatorships reigning in Muslim countries, namely Mohammad Reza Pahlavi's monarchy in Iran. That was their stated mission. Justice movements in Palestine and raising awareness about dictatorships, mainly the monarchy of the Shah. And let me show you this is so crazy. This is a photo of the group back in 1989. And this is a photo of their protest. I'm not exactly sure where this is.
Are those your notes that you highlighted? Is this your?
Yes.
So this is his research notes on this group. She made the Google Doc of it.
It looks like it says like occupy Mecca, occupy Jerusalem, something places in captivity.
What
And
year
then
is this again? You said 19 what?
1909. Look at, you can see that they
1800?
have little pictures of Khomeini on them.
Mhm.
Look at these kids holding the pictures of Khomeini. They're all dressed in black mostly. And this guy holding a sign that says, "We will continue on Imam Khomeini's path."
So occupy Mecca as in an anti-Saudi Arabia position, basically meaning that they will save Mecca from Saudi Arabia, meaning that?
I wouldn't assume. I don't entirely know, especially because it's kind of cut off.
Yeah, this seems like an anti-Saudi message. Occupy Mecca, as in we need to liberate Mecca from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So liberate Jerusalem from Israel and liberate Mecca from Saudi Arabia.
And
basically.
something like places in captivity. Yeah, we will continue on Imam Khomeini's path. So it's pretty explicit what they're into here. Now, a few other interesting things about this group are a lot of the imagery that they use. They explicitly use militarized imagery. So they use imagery of Hezbollah fighters. Today, MSA-PSG strives to honor the struggle and sincerity of its founders by serving Muslims and Islamic communities throughout the U.S. and focusing our efforts on addressing the challenges facing Islamic societies and communities in Western society. So this is how they present themselves now. I love this quote. However, in a message handed to attendees of their 2008 annual conference, MSA-PSG stated that, quote, "At this current stage, our quest is to emulate the life and hero in contemporary times, Imam Khomeini, as we strive to establish the Islamic State of North America."
Huh?
Yeah. So this is
Wait.
what they say publicly. We're here to serve Islamic communities and the challenges they face. But at their own annual conference, they're like, we want to follow Khomeini and establish the Islamic State of North America. I was reading this on a flight. I was reading this on a flight, and when I read that, I literally like exclaimed out loud. I was like, there's some aspects of this report that made my jaw drop. Oh, in this report, if anyone is curious, you can find this for free. This is published by George Washington University Program on Extremism, and it's called Propaganda, Procurement, and Lethal Operations and Activities Inside America. And this report is the most thorough examination of Iranian influence networks published so far. Yeah. And there's tons of other things in their materials. They say they're under the guidance of the supreme leader. So it's very clear that this is obviously an Iranian front group. So here are images of one of the founders, Mustafa Chamran, that clearly glorifying his military contribution, right? And what is another interesting thing? 1987 FBI report noted that their annual conference held that year in Dallas, all attendees had to pledge allegiance to their Muslim faith and loyalty to the government of Iran. So they've been receiving attention from the FBI since the 80s, since the early 80s. A 1994 FBI report delving into Hezbollah's activity in the U.S. details that the terrorist organization is known to be in contact with the MSA-PSG, an Iranian student association active in the United States. So this is clear that it's a aspect of recruiting, that they use it for what's the word I'm looking for? Intelligence collection. Yeah, low-level intelligence collection, and technical expertise, provides a significant resource base which allows the government of Iran to maintain capability to mount operations against the United States if it's so decided. Here's another thing proving that they're all about militias and glorifying the military overthrow, which is a picture of Imad, how do I pronounce this? Mughniye, who was a founding member of Lebanon's Islamic Jihad and a high-ranking member of Hezbollah. So they openly praise and celebrate and glorify people who are leaders in U.S. designated terrorist organizations and have people pledge allegiance to the Islamic Republic and their axis of resistance. And here are more examples.
Any image of Qasem Soleimani by any chance?
No, not yet. But these are all different IRGC commanders that or operatives that they're praising. Yeah, so this is just, I don't know. This is one of those situations where I just wanted to highlight it to help emphasize to people that these networks really do exist within the United States. Now, I don't understand like why they are allowed to continue. Do I have any information about this here? No. Oh, and they have a ton of connections to other Iran-aligned sheikhs that operate throughout the entire United States that are very clearly linked into them because they come speak at all their annual conferences and stuff. But I thought it would be interesting to actually look at the website of this conference of this group that is happening right now. So let me pull this up. Wait, stop. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So here we go. Let's just like poke through what kind of verbiage they use and stuff. Resistance in Islamic duty. You have the fist. And what is the matter with you that fight not in the cause of Allah or for the oppressed? Citing Al-Nisa. With the help of Allah and special attention of Imam Al-Asr, we are delighted to announce the 51st MSA PSG annual conference. Okay. Conference theme. In both personal and social spheres, resistance plays a critical role in upholding justice, particularly for Muslims, as it aligns with our religious identity and principles. Following the example set by the Ahlul Bayt, we understand that standing against oppression is not only a moral obligation, but also a sacred duty. By unifying our resistance, we strengthen our ummah, fostering solidarity, resilience, and a shared commitment to protecting the values of Islam. Today, as injustices persist around the world, this resistance becomes even more critical. The lessons of the Ahlul Bayt guide us in courage and persistence, reminding us that silence in the face of injustice is not an option. By standing together, we uphold truth and justice, ensuring that the principles of our faith are reflected in our actions, and we strive towards building a more equitable world. So, Armin, as someone who was raised in Iran with the propaganda of the Islamic Republic, does this ring any bells for you?
Yes, very, very Shia. Ahlul Bayt is very Shia, and I also, by the way, it's not just very Shia, as I suspected, is also very anti-Saudi, because I went to check their Twitter account, and this is what I found. This is their Twitter account. Look at this. It says, it comes as no surprise that the Wahhabi Saudi regime, guys, these Islamic people are, Wahhabi is an insult, considered an insult. When a lot of Shias use the word Wahhabi as an insult, right? So like the Wahhabi Saudi regime has once again slaughtered 37 prisoners, but that's very rich coming from these pro-Iranian regime people who are doing more executions in their prisons.
Executed 300 in the past 2 months.
Yeah, look at this. Oh my God. They're calling out Saudi Arabia for slaughtering prisoners. 37 prisoners, which included individuals who had been arrested in their teenage years. Wow, that's what happens in Iran as well. They execute people who were arrested in Trinidad simply for protesting the atrocities of the government. Dude, this happens in Iran. In Iran, people get executed for protesting the atrocities of the government. They're calling out Saudi Arabia. Well, this happens more in Iran than in Saudi Arabia. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Fucking hell. Okay, but go on. What do you have to show? Show that's what is that you're showing?
Oops.
Oh, you removed it.
Oops. Oh crap.
It's okay.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, well
here we go. It's just so interesting that they use like so much militarized imagery still.
Right.
And also that they have fees for kids. They have discounts for families here. And oh my God, they have the kids dressed up as little Basijis, basically. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I thought they were wearing those like classic white shirts.
What are they holding?
I don't know.
I can't.
They're doing some sort of recitation.
Music.
Which feels kind of weird to me. I thought this is supposed to be like a college group. You know what I mean?
How are they a 501c? Like, how is this like? If you don't want to arrest, like ban it, at least don't make them a 501c. Like, is it so easy? I don't know.
Well, this is actually a problem that goes on in the United States where, honestly, there are efforts to update our IRS tax code regarding 501c3s. But to be honest, we should just enforce the current aspects of the 501c tax code, and we would be able to strip a lot of people of their tax code, their tax privileges, just based if we enforced what we already have. One thing that drives me crazy is just we don't even enforce what we already have on the books.
Right. But when Navid is asking what's a 501c, that means they're a charity. That means they're tax exempt. That means that you're basically, as an American, not only you're not stopping this, but Americans are funding.
You're subsidizing it by privilege of them not paying taxes.
Yeah. So it's beyond just being it's beyond just being allowed. It's basically government sponsored.
Yeah. Absolutely insane. I don't know what the status of it is with this particular group, to be honest. Especially considering that like the feds have had their eyes on them since the 80s. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. So
I like to talk about these things because this is real. Like I don't know. I feel like a lot of times when you talk about Muslim Brotherhood and other things, people look at you like you're a conspiracy theorist. Or Islamic Republic influence networks in the United States. It's not a conspiracy. This is very well documented.
Yeah, wait, so this comment Uzair saying, "Oh my gosh, should we go crash the party?" I mean, they have a website where you could register. Should we send? I mean, I always wanted an Atheist Republic army, but given that we cannot have, okay, never mind. Never mind. They were joking. We're joking.
I'm not responsible for anything you guys do.
Okay. We were joking because that was a joke. I take it back. Yes, you're right. Susie is like this is why Susie is the CEO, because some people might think that I was being serious and they might go do something that I was not advocating for. This is why Susie is the CEO of Atheist Republic. Please don't go do anything like that. I thought it was an obvious joke, but you're right, Susie. Somebody might take that seriously. Yes. No, Susie was like, no. Okay, but we made it clear. That we didn't mean that. Okay, so
not okay. Gaijin gave a super chat. Thank you, Gaijin, saying, I appreciate the reporting. My algorithm Kami would never have brought this to my attention.
That's good.
Thank you. Rafa gave a super chat saying Khamenei believes Israel has more powerful jinns. Does that mean that he has his own? Does that mean that someone is scamming and making money off of him because making him believe they're jinns? Or they have jinns?
You know, that's, you know, most likely it seems like ridiculous to say this, but most likely yes. Okay, Khamenei publicly has says that this is a battle not just between humans, but between gens. So meaning he publicly said that if he says between gens, that means that there are humans, like the war between the axis of resistance and, you know, the imperialism and Zionism and the basically Nizam Sultan, basically the world powers, right? The basically Western liberal order is the battle of humans and gens, meaning that there are gens on both sides, meaning that he has gens believes that he has gens recruited on his side. He has that's his idea, and he wears like certain rings that are supposed to be boosting, I don't know, and some protection, and so they are a lot of superstition. And there are also reports of him replacing some of his people that were his, I don't know, jinn masters or whatever, the people who, and he wasn't happy with them and he fired them to recruit some other people that were supposed to be working with the jinns for him. So this is all apparently part of their ideology. That this is, we're fighting in this war. Humans are fighting against each other, but also both sides are recruiting jinns as well, right? This is it's very strange because based on what we learned as Shias in school, like all of the battles in Islamic history were like this. When Muhammad was participating in war, he had jinns. And it's weird because when Hussein was fighting in Karbala, he had many jinns fighting for him as well, which is weird. And how did he lost? So, you know, how did he lose given how he has so many jinns on his side? I don't know. Like we had reports of in the middle of a battle, like the enemy will come and then you would just see their heads fly in the sky without any swords hitting their necks because it was a sword of a jinn hitting their neck. So many of these reports. So yeah, the answer is yes, basically. The jinns
sounds pretty cool to me. Rafa, thank you for being a member, Rafa. Saying Islamic State of North America, that's Takia, right? No, they mean that.
No, that's actually them being.
They mean that.
No, that's them being honest about their intentions. That's the opposite of Takia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's so difficult to understand about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, why would this be Taria? Taria would be the opposite. Taria would be this being their intention and them telling you that this is not their intention. This is the opposite of Taria. This is a mask falling. Yeah, mask slipping moment. Yeah.
And Charles is saying, Armin, you're fired.
Yes. People think that you're very frustrated with me sometimes, Susie. You should tell them how much you appreciate me.
Just sometimes you say something that can have a consequence that I know you're not anticipating. So I have to come in and put out some fires.
Yeah. But to be in my defense, I speak for hours live, and of course I'm going to say some things that sometimes are not the best idea to say. So that's understandable. Natural.
That's all completely understandable.
That's the natural results of speaking for hours and hours live on air. it would be weird if I sometimes don't say something that I shouldn't have been said, right? It would be
Yeah, and
unexpected.
it's my natural prerogative to clean things up.
Yes, I'm being defended by you. We love
Wait.
Armin, don't fire.
Oh, this isn't very good.
What?
Oh, come on. I was trying to have Sora make a video of genies fighting each other in a battle, but I don't like it very much.
Maybe make it for the next stream, because you have to. There's a lot of hits and misses. You have to.
Yeah.
With Sora.
Okay, here's what we have so far.
Oh, what the hell is it? You made that with Sora? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't love it, but let me iterate a little bit in the background here and see what I can come up with.
No. Oh God. Okay. Okay.
Shall we go to the next news?
Yeah, I actually, because last time I talked about this, I didn't have the best part of the singing. Now I'm happy that I have two. Yes, we didn't get any copyright strikes when I showed that last time. So I'm thinking that we should be saying okay right now. I think I think we should be fine. We'll see. Okay. Clappable.
Yes.
Susie is busy with Sora. she's I know you're posting prompts in Sora. I know. Okay. All right. Ready? Are you done with Sora? Clap. Okay. All right. Next news.
Iranian singer defies hijab laws with historic virtual concert. Parastu Ahmadi, a 27-year-old Iranian singer, made history and sparked global attention by live streaming a virtual concert on YouTube without wearing a hijab, directly defying Iran's strict laws. Performing in a sleeveless dress with her hair uncovered, Ahmadi described the concert, filmed in a Silk Road caravanserai, as an imaginary concert and declared, quote, "This is a right I could not ignore, singing for the land I love passionately." Her bold act, uploaded on December 11th, went viral, garnering over 1.5 million views within 3 days, despite YouTube's restrictions in Iran. By now, I think the video is at 2.2 million. Authorities swiftly arrested Ahmadi and 2 band members, declaring her actions to be contrary to cultural norms, although she was later released following questioning. Ahmadi, who has faced previous harassment for her activism during the 2022 Mahsa Amini uprising, continues to challenge Iran's repression of women, inspiring millions while risking severe punishment. So there's a lot I want to cover here. But Armin, I mean, this was a huge story. And so give us the perspective of what was going on within the Iranian community and Persian social media in reaction to this. The inside scoop.
So just remember, she's released, but she's been given a court date. So she's not free. She's been released for prison. She has a court date that she has to come back to and to get charged for her actions, right? And this is very significant because we're at a turning point right now in Iran. Okay, there's 2 issues in Iran that is crippling the regime, absolutely crippling the regime. One is Israel, the other one is hijab. And a lot of people don't understand that the hijab discussion in Iran, it's way beyond women's right to choose what they wear, way beyond freedom. Okay, this is a make or break situation this is an existential crisis for the Islamic Republic, right? And she did it she came out did a concert, which I will play some of it for you guys, at the moment where the pro-regime Islamic minded the people who are demanding Sharia laws to come back and be enforced in Iran, the people who are, and you will see this on the next stream that I do, how many people who want an Islamic regime, who want Sharia law to be enforced in Iran. I have more every week. I will bring you with evidence that they're turning on the regime because Islamic law is not being enforced in Iran, not because the regime wants to allow it, because the regime can't enforce it anymore. The women of Iran are now stronger than the regime. The regime has been humbled by their strength. It's unenforceable. And again, I was proven right because I have time and time again, I told you that the cat is out of the bag. There is no way that the regime can undo what's happening in Iran. And every time the regime tried to come up with a new measure, I was like, oh, this will backfire. You will see that this will backfire. The women of Iran are not going to let this happen. And she came out and did this. And remember, this is beyond just not wearing your hijab. She's showing, look at how much skin she's showing. She's not wearing the hijab. She has her shoulders and, part of her chest and back showing. And she's singing. Singing is not legal in Iran for women unless it's being drowned out by some men singing. So she's breaking a lot of taboos. And she did this after a hijab law, a new hijab law was passed by the parliament as a response to all the Islamists demanding that Sharia law be enforced. Remember, the Islamists in Iran, the only, I think, I'm guessing 6% remaining base support for the regime. Okay. They are, if they fall, if the regime loses them, it's game over for the regime. And they are demanding the regime to respond stronger to Israel and enforce hijab in Iran, or else this is not the revolution that they bled for. They did not do an Islamic revolution for you not to enforce Islamic law. They did not give martyrs in the Iran-Iraq war for you not to stand strong against Israel. They are becoming humiliated and they don't like it. And if the regime fails, the regime will fall because they will lose that 6% as well. If they lose half of that 6%, it's game over. The regime cannot stand on just 3% support, right? And that's why this woman is basically coming in and is what she did was looking at the weakest part of the regime and basically putting a spear in the wound of the regime. That's what this is. This is beyond. This is not just a concert. This is poking at the regime where it's weakest at the most critical moment right now. That's the significance of this concert. Of what she, by the way, there was no audience, so I shouldn't be calling it a concert. It's a performance, but they recorded it because if it was a concert, if there were audience, it would have been raided. It would have been stopped. But do you want to say something before I play some of it? And I will also put a link to the full video for people to go see.
There are some people, but this is the first concert performed by a woman since the creation of the Islamic Republic.
Yeah, I mean, that seems right.
I mean, we've seen videos before of women singing in protest on the street, maybe doing a little street performance, maybe singing in protest in the subway or something, but actually doing, like a full production concert, I think is on a different level.
Yes. Yeah, let me actually play some of it, okay? So, but I will post a link to the full thing.
از خون جوانان وطن لاله وطن لاله وطن لاله دمیده از ماتم شان سر و جانم سر و خدا سر و خمیده چه کج رفتاری چند
Wait, let me do another parts of it. I still can't believe that this is in Iran. Like right after the most aggressive hijab laws being passed by the parliament, this just comes out from Iran. Like I still, this is not just thinking. This is a war. What you're seeing is war against the regime. Watch this part. And by the way, she did this knowing that she will be arrested immediately after. Like she completely was aware about what's about to happen. So watch this.
مرا ببوس مرا ببوس برای آخرین بار تو را خدا نگهدار که می روم به سوی سرنوشت بهار ما گذشته گذشته ها گذشته منم به جستجوی سرنوشت.
So this song is part of another song about a girl who was singing a song of a revolution, but while she's singing, she gets shot, and while she's dying, she says, like, our spring has passed. I was looking for destiny, and she says, like, kiss me one more time, like as she's dying while she's protesting, and she's saying, give me one last kiss before my last breath.
Everyone should honestly go watch this full performance. It's so incredible. Her name is Parastu Ahmadi. And this concert has gone like insanely viral. Yeah. What have you heard anything about? You said there's going to be another court date for her.
Yeah, she's going to have a court here. Yeah, guys. So Heavy Gretel was saying, put the link in the chat. Here's the link. I put it in the chat. Yeah, there's going to be a court date for her. She's going to have a hearing and everything. So actually, let me make sure that the link that I gave you guys is the correct link. Yes. I wish it had subtitles. Let me see. Does it have subtitles if you're looking at the whole thing? Oh yes, guys, the link that I provided. If you go to this link, and I don't know if the translation is accurate or is it. Let me see. I think it comes with translation. No, unfortunately, the translation is AI. Is auto-generated. I hope that somebody actually spends time in translating this and putting subtitles on it. If I ever see somebody doing that, I will let you guys know. But this translation right now on her. And guys, if somebody's listening to this and cannot click on the link, just search for Parastu Ahmadi. Oh, they're calling it a concert themselves, so I wasn't right. It's a Karvaran Sara concert. But if you search for Parastu Ahmadi, that's probably the main video that will show up. Concert Karvaran Sara ba sadai Parastu
Ahmadi. Oh, we got some more super chats and comments. Rafa is saying, oh wait, well, let's go this one because it's with this news. Saying Iranian women have balls of steel bigger than mine. Yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
This new generation is like on a different level. And John is saying, wait, did you guys shift the stream? It's Saturday, right? So only this week, because I have to catch a flight tomorrow. But yes, we did shift the news stream one day. Then Rafa was asking a question regarding our previous segment, saying, thank you for the super chats, Rafa. Saying, I meant the whole Islamic State of North America versus what they say in their website equals taqiyya.
I mean, in the websites is saying all of that, so they're not.
Well, no, so that specific quote comes from materials they handed out at their conference in 2008 versus how they identify themselves now, talking about focusing efforts on addressing Islamic challenges facing communities in facing Islamic communities in Western society. I don't know if this is like technically taqiyya.
No, because there's no contradiction between them. You know, taqiyya is like denying reality. You have to lie actually for it to be taqiyya. So
guys, if you're sitting there thinking, is this taqiyya? The rule of thumb should be, I probably misunderstand taqiyya, and it's probably not taqiyya.
Yeah, taqiyya is used much less often than you guys think. Yeah.
Like, if it is not a good explanation for the behavior you're seeing. It really isn't. So I'm begging people to please stop saying this.
Yeah. There is such a thing as taqiyya, but usually that's not their explanation.
Yeah. I also have more videos of jinns fighting each other.
Wait, before you do that, can I also look at this comment? Okay. So this is a comment that Dee found in response to the singer. And this person said, good women shouldn't be stepping out of line. And I was like, I bet you this guy is a Muslim. I was like, this guy is a Muslim.
300 likes.
And then I went, oh, wow. Wait, really? 300 likes. Wow. I didn't even notice that part. And then I went to his. I don't know.
Oh my God, he's an American first graper. No, I think this guy might be a graper.
What the hell?
Yeah, he's a graper.
I don't even know. Why does he have law?
Because grapers have gotten to a place where they actually like the Taliban because of how they treat women like livestock, basically.
So this is a Trumpist who likes Islamism and the Taliban.
A lot of grapers don't actually even like Trump now, to be honest.
Oh, they don't like Trump.
Yeah.
So can you explain to people what the graper is? Because a lot of people might not understand this.
I don't even know how to explain it.
It's such a what the fuck is
it's so hard to explain. It's like a movement that came out of like there's got to be a simpler explanation. Grapers, sometimes called Graper Army, are a group of alt-right and white nationalist activists, provocateurs, and internet trolls. Ideology: American nationalism, anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, paleo-conservatism, white nationalism, and white supremacy. So, yeah.
Nick Fuentes enthusiasts. Yes.
No, they really are. They're just like Nick Fuentes fanboys. They really are. So, but they have like a murderous hatred of women, which is hysterical to me because if you want any ideology or movement to thrive and continue, you're going to need women, whether you like it or not, which is, I think, why they started to like the Taliban, because then they can just regulate women to nothing less than breeding stock and just continue on their way. Yeah, it's like legitimately like nativist fascist movement, but it's also not internally consistent, to be honest. Yeah.
Give me the gen videos.
Oh yeah, here are my gen videos. To be honest, I didn't really like any of these, and I'm gonna have to fight with Sora a lot more. Wait.
Why are they red and blue?
I don't.
This is like Where is that? Why is that Jewish? It's the Star of David. Wait, I could. Okay. Oh wow,
I'm not
that one has
liking these. I was trying to remix it to make it better, and they're just not getting better.
Well, you have to spend so much time prompt engineering to get something good. Like,
No, sometimes
you
I
also
can
have to
get
be
a really decent one on a first try. To be honest, this is just not meeting my standard.
right.
I like how they have the little amamet though. Like,
You have to explain to it the style. Like, you have to give it a reference for a style to get something.
And it's not behaving. It's not behaving.
Anyways.
It's not behaving.
Okay.
But I like this idea, and I feel like we can go further with this.
Yeah, let work on it. See if you can get something higher quality than that. That looks so cartoonish.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's better than whatever the imagery I've seen from the Shia community trying to show jinns and their army and the mythical creatures against them on their side. It was better produced than anything I've seen, so I give you that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I tried to Google Jinn army, and it's just pulling up BTS members who had to go serve in the army. Oh my gosh.
All right, guys, we're about to go. Please do not forget to like the stream. Please do not forget to subscribe if you're new here. Please do not forget to hit the bell notification. If you're subscribed and you're telling us that why are you live, why didn't YouTube tell me, is because you didn't hit the bell notification. And even if you hit the bell notification, that's not enough. You have to click the bell notification and also select all right? And if you're still not getting notified that we're going live, that's because you have hit the bell notification on too many channels, right? So you have to go deselect some of them and then select ours as to be notified. And then leave a comment. The comments are really the YouTube gods get edged when you leave a comment. They're like, ooh, they really like it. They really like it. They come here on our channel every time you leave a comment, and they're like, okay, let me bless this channel with more views. The comments have a huge influence, so please do that. And then word of mouth, recommend our channel. Unless it's dangerous, then do not recommend our channel. What are you? You're stupid. Why are you recommend our channel if it's dangerous? Do not recommend our. What is wrong with you? Do not recommend our channel to anybody if that's dangerous for you to do so. Okay. And also support us financially. Links are in the description. If only if you are financially secure, please do not support us or anyone else unless you don't get your shit in order. Get your shit in order before you support other people. Do not support us financially otherwise. Okay. Anything else, Susie? Should we go out? We did good.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, New Year's, Happy New Year's to everyone.
Oh, it's Hanukkah. Actually, it's not Hanukkah. You're right. We should have been saying that's the right way of pronouncing it. Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that.
Because when it's a CH, it's a like hi.
Right. Okay. Next time. Next
Chabad.
Year. Yes.
Or tell me if I'm wrong, Hebrew speakers.
Yeah, tell us right. Merry Christmas. Can we do that? No, oh yeah, people. Yes, exactly. All right, guys. Bye. Mwah. Like the stream.